Hi, I am Michael from Audio Skies, and we are the importer and distributor for Larson speakers in North America. The Larson speakers is a very unique and innovative speaker, and we're very proud to represent them. And what I can tell for everybody out there is that I think everybody is very, very interested in getting the best sound. I mean, that's why you're buying a speaker. You want it to sound natural, you want it to sound organic, and you want it to sound the way music actually sounds. And the Larson speakers, not only do they sound great, they are not big and they're not expensive. But it doesn't end there. So in order to explain this, I'll have to just speak a little bit about how speakers work. It's very basic. There's no hocus pocus. This is just how sound waves work in a room. Basically, when you take a conventional speaker with front-firing drivers, they're basically designed to work in an anechoic chamber. An anechoic chamber just means a chamber that has no reflections. The problem is that everybody out there has walls in their rooms, and rooms make reflections. That's a big problem for a regular speaker. So what you have to do is you have to get the speakers away from the back walls, away from the side walls. And you can't go, well, my sofa's here, so I would like to put the speakers in front of my sofa. No, you have to place the speakers that one position where they work perfectly. And then you have to sit in the middle between where those speakers are, if you want the best out of your speakers. And if you don't do that, well, your speakers will not work the way they're supposed to. They will not sound anywhere near their price point. The reason why you have to do this is because you kind of have to try to eliminate the fact that there are walls. So the speakers have to be away from the walls, and you have to be away from the wall to eliminate all the early distorting reflexes. Now, what I mean with early distorting reflexes is that the direct sound that comes from the speaker arrives from the drivers to your ear. Anything that comes very fast after that sound, meaning off the side walls or back walls or floor, will be perceived by the brain as a distortion because it can't tell the difference between the direct signal and the reflected signal because it's so fast afterwards. That means that you screw up your sound stage and the brain sees this is distortion. So every speaker that is a conventional speaker, well, every speaker in the world has to get rid of early distorting reflexes. The way you do that with a regular speaker is you get it away from the walls. You also have them towed in, and you sit closer, which actually gives you a +3 dB bump in mid-range and tweeter over how this actually would sound like in real life or at a concert or the recording. Again, to try to eliminate the fact that we don't want to hear the room that you're sitting in. All this creates a lot of problems because you have to set them up very well. You have to know how to do that. You have to have the room to do it. You have to have your wife or spouse's permission to put them out in the room and the sofa where it needs to go, etc. Put sound treatment on the back wall and the side walls and all these other things. This is where the Larson speakers come in. They have figured out that the room actually interferes or affects, is a better word, the sound of any speaker. So instead of trying to ignore that fact, let's work with the fact. And the way that they do that, well, the only way you can predict how a speaker will work in any given room is to know where the first reflection is. So how do you do that? Well, you make a speaker that's designed to be up against the back wall. And this has a lot of advantages if you know how to do it. One, you have perfect bass. You don't have to move the speaker back and forth trying to figure out how to get that correct, tight, crisp, wonderful bass that's not boomy. With a regular speaker, you have to move it back and forth an inch at a time to figure that out. If you place it against the back wall, it is the correct bass because we know the wall is right there. So the driver, the placement of the driver, the position of the driver, the direction of the driver, and the crossover is all made to be right there. The second advantage is we also know that the first reflection is coming off the back wall. So we can eliminate that with absorption material built into the speaker and the angle of the driver. Those two things eliminate the back wall and the side wall, because the drivers on a Larsen speaker is inwards towards the speaker. It's a mirror image of each other, which means they do not get any side reflexes. The absorption material gets rid of rear reflexes, early distorting reflexes. Now you have two drivers that are traveling the longest amount of time before they hit another surface. And now you get what is called natural late reflexes from the room. This is the same as you would hear in any recording at any concert, any jazz, classical concert in the world. You get late reflections off ceilings, walls, etc. These are not distorting, and they are natural. That's what you need in order to hear the correct timbre of voices and instruments. If you ever were in a room that had no reflexes, it sounds very, very weird to the ear. It would be like going into a cave that had no echo if you screamed. You go, wait a minute, I know there's supposed to something happening here. So the Larsen speakers have correct bass because they're against the wall. They have no early distorting reflexes. They fill out the room. They give you late natural reflexes. And they have the added benefit of you don't have to sit dead center, because they're not trying to hit you with a sound that's straight on your ears with a plus 3 dB in the mid-range tweeter, which is unnatural. No, rather they fill the room just like a concert hall. If you go to a concert, if you're sitting 4 seats left of the center, you get perfect imaging. You're not losing any instrument. You're not losing the right channel of your system. You're just not sitting in the center. Now, the Larsen speakers, of course, the optimal position is sitting in the center, but if you sit off to the side, you are now in the direct path of one of the speakers, and you're in closer distance to the other speaker, so the image has corrected itself from where you're sitting. So now you can listen with your friends. It's not only the center person who has imaging and hears both channels, but you can actually also move around. You could be cooking food in the background, or you get up and it's not like, oh, I've totally lost information in one speaker. No, it's there. So great bass, great sound, not big, doesn't take up space in your living room. Sounds great, not expensive, no wires running across the floor, no need for sound treatment. Basically, as the last review in Absolute Sound said very, very accurately, I thought, you will not have heard anything like it in any other speakers, except, of course, in real live music. So during the HiFi Summit, we have the Larsen 4, which is actually the one that we see here in the background. It's only 30 inches high. It's only 10 inches deep. And it plays under 30 hertz. So you don't need to have a subwoofer. They sound really, really great. They're not expensive. They're very, very easy to set up. It literally takes you 5 minutes. They can, like here, be set up, let's say you have a credenza or you have bookshelves like here, you put it up on either side and you have a system. And if you want to hook it up to your TV, they sound great with a film or whatever you're watching on TV. So there's a lot of advantages to the Larsen speakers. I think that the more people get to know about this design, I think the more people are going to be interested in buying it. It's very few people that have a large dedicated listening room where they have total freedom to put the speakers and their listening position exactly where they want it, that have their spouse's permission to put sound treatment where it's needed, and that have the expertise to set up a pair of speakers correctly, which is, if you don't know how to do that, you might not be getting the full potential of your speakers. It's like buying a race car. If you don't know how to set the suspension yourself, well, it will not perform, at its optimal level. So the Larson speakers kind of all these things built in, and they use very high quality drivers and crossover components. I invite you to participate in the summit and visit one of our dealers or contact us. I think anybody that doesn't know this design, I've heard them, would be very pleasantly surprised.